disruptive.
America that I fought.
Weird thing to happen. Hello, one and all. Welcome to this edition of Kitz Corner. Been a fantastic day so far. So, we've been talking about the new report that came out about Biden's decline in mental health. Obviously, we already knew about this, but finally the establishment has caved. They finally stopped their denial. It's not just a river in Egypt anymore. They finally realized and recognized that maybe they have a point in discussing the mental stability and the mental health of our leaders, because it's kind of an important job, an important issue, very high responsibility. And you need competent people when you have a job with high responsibility. You don't want a, 90-year-old fighting fires. You don't want a 100-year-old police officer. That's why we have retirement. That's why, elderly seniors that are in decline of their health need the most attention when it comes to, preservation and making sure that they're okay and relaxing and being with their family, being with their loved ones. We don't send them out in harm's way. It just shows what a failure our continent really is when it comes to stuff like this. So this came out, obviously, with this report saying that diminished faculties, faculties, faulty memory, significant limitations, and damaging report on Biden's mental state. So this is from the special counsel put together, made this article, made this claim that proved that Biden is in mental parish, pretty much. And everybody from MSNBC to CNN to celebrities to political voices to The View, like everybody is trying to be defensive about this and saying how ridiculous this report is, and this is ageist. This is an attack on Biden, and even though he's a elderly man, he could still do the job. Like trying to find every means in the most stupid way to defend Joe Biden and his ability to lead the country, saying that, well, he's the best we got compared to Trump, even though they're two peas of the same pod. And one of those voices is the vice president herself. Now, I could go on record to say, and this is not to be ageist or sexist, but competency also, there's a lack of it when it comes to the vice presidency, because we've seen interviews with Kamala Harris cackling when she doesn't know what to say and unrehearsed and not knowing, terms and what she's doing in certain areas in response to critical measures that affect everybody. And here she is defending Joe Biden after this report came out. And to me, well, let's watch and then we'll discuss what reaction of this is.
I'm glad you asked. Listen, I have been privileged and proud to serve as Vice President of the United States with Joe Biden as President of the United States. And what I saw of that report last night, I believe is, as a former prosecutor, the comments that were made by that prosecutor, gratuitous, inaccurate, and inappropriate.
Now, it seems like to me that I feel like this was rehearsed. I feel like when we see Kamala Harris in past interviews and the ability not to make sentences and go into hysterical giggles and cackling, watching this now, it definitely shows that this was rehearsed, that they practiced this, they had this all drawn up and written up, and this is her responding rehearsed to this question of Joe Biden's mental stability. Because honestly, if it was just normal Kamala Harris responding to a random question, I bet you her response would be, well, Joe Biden is a man and he is the president. In order for a good president, you need to have a man who's presidential. Right? Right? You need a president who's presidential. Like, that's the common trait of Kamala Harris. That would be a common Kamala response to this. But when she goes into detail, she brings up prosecution and being being her years of being a California prosecutor and looking at his record. And yeah, this definitely seems rehearsed. This definitely seems like her PR team put this together. She said this in front of the mirror a couple times, and now here she is saying it out in the open.
October 7th, Israel experienced a horrific attack, and I will tell you, we got the calls, the president and myself, in the hours after that occurred.
What a great jump and segue that went into. Biden's health, the defense of Biden's health and how he's a good president even to this day is determined by a phone call they got from October 7th in Israel. And here's the response to war crimes being committed to Israel. And how Joe Biden, notorious Zionist, who profoundly said it to the mainstream media, I'm a Zionist, you don't even have to be Jewish to be a Zionist, and everybody should be. He said that to the mainstream media, and he knew that he was going to be on their side. He knew that, this was going to come out. There was been scouting reports. There's been intelligence and surveillance that pointed out that there was going to be some significant attack on October 7th. And guess what? It happened. And Kamala Harris is defending Joe Biden because of his the administration's response to October 7th. Like, what a segue that turned. What a 180 that came out there. Oh, let's make this about Israel now. I thought we were talking about Joe Biden's mental state.
It was an intense moment for the Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America. And I was in almost every meeting with the President in the hours and days that followed. Countless hours with the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State, the heads of our intelligence community, and the President.
For the record, I'm pretty sure it was only a 30-minute speech, but it was countless hour meetings because they had to direct Joe Biden to the right office. That's probably what happened. They knew that they were going to respond to this. They knew they were going to retaliate and send all this money to Israel regardless, but the reason it took so long is because they had to coordinate Joe Biden into the right office and then get him to sit down and then maybe give him a bowl of ice cream to cheer him up. I don't know. Like, okay, Joe, eat your ice cream while we decide how much millions of dollars and billions of dollars we're going to spend off to Israel.
Was in front of and on top of it all, asking questions and requiring that America's military and intelligence community and diplomatic community would figure out and know how many people were dead, how many are Americans, how many hostages, is the situation stable? He was in front of it all.
And the funniest part about that, they still don't know any of that stuff. They still keep changing the goalposts and still change the numbers on how many hostages. Because it went from more to less, and then more, and then more, and then even more, and then less, and then even more again. Like, they don't even know how many hostages there are at this point. They don't know the extent of the damage. Again, this was all manufactured since day one. So they're changing the goalposts so frequently that they can't even keep track of why we're sending money to Israel, what the combative mission is, because we were told that this is a defensive war. They were supposed to stop Hamas. No, we got to actually go into office towers and destroy, residential buildings, apartment buildings, because one member of Hamas could be in this entire residential building, so we got to kill all these people. No, we got to kill the family member. No, we got to do this. No, we got to do this. We got to extend ourselves even further. Now we got to occupy this territory. Now we got to go into Lebanon. Now we got to go attack Iran. Now we got to go into here. Now we got to go into this territory. Oh, now we got to go into South Egypt. just like they did with Afghanistan, just like they did with Iraq, just like they did with Ukraine, just like they do with Syria, just like they do with any manufactured war that they have cultivated. They always change the goalpost. Always change the goalpost. And it always starts off with, oh, we got to defend people from this person or from this group. It always starts off with a significant goal that they want to achieve. But then as the war goes on, as the bloodshed and the tyranny and the pillaging of these areas continue on, they have to mix it around. They have to change their narrative and say, well, we were supposed to go for Hamas, or we're supposed to go after the Taliban, but also we got to do this. Also, we got to do this. Also, we got to do this. And frankly, the only person who actually gave the right response of why we're still occupying these territories was Donald Trump. Donald Trump said on Fox News, the reason we're still in Syria to this day is because of the oil. I know it sounds like it sounds ridiculous for the establishment to admit, but that's why we're there. We're there for natural resources. That's the only reason we go into these countries. We don't defend people. We don't do anything humanitarily. We don't do anything to defend the honor or democracy or any of that crap because, hell, we don't do it in our own backyard. But we do go and storm countries when we hear that there's natural resources, when there's geopolitical powers to be met, when we're trying to stymie different economies so we can override them, so we can take down their governments and install dictatorships at the wings of corrupted global capital. That's why we do that. But again, Kamala Harris is trying to use this as defense of Joe Biden. I'm sure Joe Biden doesn't even know a lot about this. And this is all pretext by determination of people inside the White House that are already predetermined to make these decisions and then just allow Joe Biden to sign his name on the dotted line.
Coordinating and directing leaders who are in charge of America's national security, not to mention our allies around the globe. For days, and up until now, months. So the way that the president's demeanor in that report was characterized could not be more wrong on the facts and clearly politically motivated, gratuitous. And so I will say that when it comes to the role and responsibility of a prosecutor in a situation like that, we should expect that there would be a higher level of integrity than what we saw. Thank you. Thank you for the question.
Now, someone questioned her integrity when she was a prosecutor in California and hid away critical documents that allowed people with, drug possession to be mass incarcerated by high numbers and continue to be on death row to use as prison labor. Where exactly was the integrity on that? Or lying to prosecute more people into California prisons to use as prison labor during wildfires and then selling them off to corporations? Where's the integrity on that, Kamala? Where's your integrity on this situation? Because you're saying that Joe Biden has the most integrity in that room when he was making critical decisions on how to deal with foreign affairs, even though he can't even get off stage on himself. He has to have handlers direct him off stage, but he's able to sit down vigorously and conduct a foreign affairs crackdown on a nation outside of America. What an absolute absurdity, an insult that is to our intelligence, because we see observations. We know how Joe Biden reacts. We know what he's like when he's off script and as a normal person. And this is just an absurdity. This is just an absurdity on the fact that Kamala Harris obviously had this scripted and had this rehearsed and is using this as a defense. She's using October 7th as a defense because she's politically motivated to defend Joe Biden and his mental decline as an asset. She's using political motivations to defend Joe Biden. Because let's not forget, Kamala Harris, during the debates, ridiculed Joe Biden for racist remarks, for a racist legislator. Kamala Harris railed against Joe Biden. Now all of a sudden, she's the VP of him. And why is that? Because Kamala Harris is politically motivated. Joe Biden is politically motivated. They're all compromised by the Democratic establishment. They're all compromised by lobby groups. They're all a bunch of warmongering piece of garbage whores that just sell themselves out and sell off their souls repeatedly to get further up on the ladder. And they have no convictions, they have no integrity, they have no responsibility, no initiative, nothing. So, of course, they'll just defend each other, even though they know it's an absolute lie. It's an obvious lie. Kamala Harris would be stupid herself to say that Joe Biden is a smart man and he's just a strong leader, considering all the amount of footage, all the amount of absurdities, all the amount of gaffes that he has created. And it's concerning to everybody because this guy is responsible for everything that goes on in America. And now he's dealing with foreign affairs. He's doing with multiple wars that he can't even take control of America. And yet the military establishment is conducting 3, 4, 5, 6 wars at a time that Joe Biden can't comprehend or understand or know the complexity of it. It's just an absolute disgrace and a shamble of administration. And I just wanted to go back to Bill Maher defending Joe Biden and saying that, well, you got two options, either that or Trump. Again, what makes Joe Biden the obvious winner? I'd like to know his take on that, if he has a take on it.